Well, the,
I'll send it to you.
I'm gonna call the board meeting.
It wouldn't be, right?
Carp turkey.
I put my own stuff in, it's great, I run.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll be the same concept.
It is, whatever time it is, or
4:17.
4:17. I will call the roll, and are you present with your materials?
I am.
Good. Nicole,
Hearing.
Alan,
I'm not here, you.
okay. Doesn't bother me.
Martin present.
Terry,
Present, yes, and I have my stuff.
Ruth,
Yes, and I have my materials.
We all
Christine?
here, it's 100%.
Yes, present and accounted for.
and I'm present, we have a
We
quorum.
have to do this.
All members are present and accounted for, except for Alan, who is in body but not in spirit.
Back in the good old days, we just had, notice there's a quorum, next order of business. Back before we had all this technology.
Okay, moving right along. Consent agenda, do I have a motion to, approve the consent agenda, and I have one question about it. Which is the grant,
Oh,
Mhm.
sure, the gift from
yes,
Dr.
yes,
James
which
Bradford.
is a very.
At $10,000.
Very generous
Yes.
donation from Dr. Bradford, specifically for children's at German Township. So
So did we solicit that? Did we go to him and actually do it, or did he reach out
he
to us? as
reached out
well?
to us.
He wanted to make a donation and you all
Yeah,
helped
and
match him up.
specific, I think German is his home library and Bridget.
Yes, his mother volunteered there for many years. The German branch didn't exist when he was growing up, but he wanted to honor his mother who volunteered and tutored with early literacy.
Wonderful.
So we're
So,
very good.
finalizing our selections now.
will there be a book plate in there? What's with the memo?
It won't be books, it will be activities.
Oh, activity.
Yeah,
Well, I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's to move the second that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Stephanie, director's report, please.
sure. So we did receive our A+ rating from the S&P for our bonds. We sold the bonds today. We had 4 institutions bid on those bonds. And the lowest bid was a 4.015 interest rate. I think actually 4.0152. So that's a really good deal for us. And then I'll need secretary and president afterwards to set a time and date for signing the closing documents on that bond. And then we also completed our IRS audit of our 2019 general obligation bonds, clean report, nothing. A lot of work for our finance team.
You all right?
So, center is now closed. You've probably seen coverage in the news. I was out there this morning and the team out there along with the facilities team and collection services are really just getting so much done. By the time I got there at maybe 10 o'clock, there were empty shelves and they just made so much progress already. So, demolition will begin December 9th. So that's exciting. So waiting on the western property before we close. We're still in our due diligence process. And then we've begun design on LaSalle and we'll start shortly the design for western, but we need that survey. And then for those, we will host community input meetings for both of those locations. We are installing new security cameras and door access technology for many of our branches. The security cameras it's just time for the door access technology will use badges, which we don't have now, and that allows us better internal controls of who has access to our buildings. Sometimes people resign and they forget to turn in their keys. So
Badges always are better.
the badges are coming. So we started with the branches that don't have a renovation sort of in planning and process. Then we'll upgrade the other branches as we do those renovations.
So this will be a keyless entry.
Yes,
What would keep some people resigning and not turning in their badge, or it can just be
it
deactivated?
can be deactivated, yep. Our control has access to it.
If it's anything like we had, you also can control what hours a person
Yes,
has access.
Yep.
Oh, and what hallways they have access
Yeah,
to.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
sophisticated stuff.
Can be very specific.
However, it can get very hard to administer when you have a 3-shift operation. People shift and shifts. I mean, it's almost a full-time job. But
Just
this
to watch.
should be,
This should be fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
We were pretty regularly running out of, not pretty, all the time running out of meals from our Cultivate freezer on the second floor. So they're now delivering 5 days a week for us, which is fabulous. Just can't say enough about how easy Cultivate has been to work
That's
with.
great. Good to hear.
How many meals a day are we getting? Okay, can you estimate?
Ron is out sick today, so she would know.
Was it 1,500 or something?
No,
Per day.
Oh, no.
Per
that was-
delivery, I don't remember.
well, so I've popped in there a few times and it always seems to be smooth and there's I almost always, when I go in there, I'll notice there'll be somebody or 1 or 2 people that'll be sitting and eating and I go in. But it seems to me to always be very, orderly and not whatever, but is that what we're finding? Have we seen?
That
any
is what we're finding, and
People are
facilities
respectful.
are not complaining, custodial staff is not complaining. It seems to be a pretty smooth running system.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
Our annual early literacy event, Explore a Story, was on November 2nd. More than 500 people attended. I was there they do like an interactive storytelling and this year it was a book called Fiesta. And they did it in English, Spanish, and sign, and then activities for kids. So they did such a fabulous job. I wanted to start to swing along with them. But that was a lot of fun. We had a beginning genealogy program at River Park and a patron commented, the library is already doing incredible. There are so many resources I had no idea existed specifically through the library. So local family history has always done programs here and they've started over the last year to offer those at our branches as well. If you stop by local family history this month, you'll see coloring sheets and puzzles from local images, which is kind of fun. And I was surprised to learn that even some teens were hanging out in there doing the puzzles together. Jeanette presented at the Northern Indiana Minority Business Association about how to do business with the library. She's been going to those meetings, and we're trying to just have a wider pool of vendors that we use. I presented on a panel at the Indiana Library Federation Conference about the exciting topic of component unit audits. It was not a large audience, but an appreciative audience, so. And then we had a number of staff attend that conference and some communications staff attend the library marketing conference in St. Louis.
I just got a text from Rana, 180 meals delivered per day.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
That's a lot.
that is a lot.
Thank you.
Per day.
Thank you, Rana. She must be
Thank you.
listening. She's watching.
Any questions for Stephanie? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept her report.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's the vote is second that we accept report of our Secretary Director, Stephanie Murphy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, there are patron engagement reports.
Okay, so I did for just a second forget that this is me. So give me 1 second to pull it up. I think the thing that I noticed the most on this report this month is that obviously the number of visitors we had at center due to early voting was huge. You see that spike in total
Yeah.
visitors.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
79,000.
I conversely, their number of reference questions answered went down quite a bit, and I suspect they were so busy with the people standing in front of them, they just didn't mark the number of reference.
Anybody we know?
The sessions that were out the Wi-Fi, does that log when anybody just walks into the library with a Wi-Fi device and connects? Is that where that number comes from?
I believe so.
So if the voters all were carrying phones, would that all have been?
Well, you'd have to open.
You have to
and-
actually.
And
Well, they
log
probably
in.
do.
It
Because
does,
you have to
The
do that,
library.
accept.
You have to. do
that's
that.
right, you
Yeah.
do, okay.
So once somebody accepts the
Right.
Wi-Fi policy,
Yes, then it would.
that's where that
Yeah, I forgot you had to log.
happens. Yep. And
So it wouldn't count people that are using their own Wi-Fi.
if you're using your cell,
Yeah,
right. If you're using your cell service, which I sometimes do and sometimes don't if I'm in a place where they offer free Wi-Fi. It's just as easy to turn off the Wi-Fi and use my cell instead of accepting and doing all that stuff, so. But you can see that's up all year. And I think that's just in general, a move away from desktop computers and personal devices. Although our computer minutes are still up as well. Circulation is kind of remaining the same. We have more active card holders, so our total number of card holders is lower than it was last year, but the number of active and engaged, so active card holders are people who are actively using their card. That's up from last year.
It says last year was minus 50%. New cardholder retention rate 51.2%. Previous year down 50.5%.
That might have
previous
been after
month.
we dropped all that initial walk, after that whole.
That would have been 2 years ago. Daniel entered that number for me, so I don't know exactly how that particular calculation is made, but I will ask.
I'm not sure the minus should be there.
Maybe the minus should not be there, because we're actually
Up.
up in active card holders.
Anything else that I have?
Nothing else in particular that stood out to me.
Jesse, you got any questions on that before I go on to Anjanette? If not, Anjanette? We got money?
As you can see on the fund report, still have money.
good.
Can I spend it? That's the question.
Right now, if there are any
So
questions.
you're about to spend it.
I'm about to spend it.
You're not gonna spend it.
Okay.
So if there's any questions specific to that, I'll let you all ask those questions and I'll go over a few, highlights. Over the past month, Stephanie already kind of gave you a little bit of information. We've been working on the bond, we've been doing, the IRS, examination done. So we did get our appraisal reports for, the two buildings. Remember, we needed to get, second appraisal. So we did get an appraisal for Western Branch, which is the building and the land, which is 800,000. And the second appraisal for 323 Sheridan is 600,000 for the building and the land. So that helps us with our numbers.
That's a large difference.
Going forward. So then
That's a large difference.
Oh, 2 separate buildings.
two separate buildings.
They're real
For
close
Western
to
and-
the first appraisals on.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
We already had those first, so we needed to get the second. We did get those.
And the appraisals we needed because of what?
So this,
We cannot, in the purchase price for the property that we're hoping to acquire,
Mhm.
we cannot exceed the average of 2 appraisals.
Right,
So
so,
we needed the second appraisal.
and these appraisals, with these appraisals, we can move forward with the
Correct.
pricing we
Right.
agreed to.
Correct.
Okay.
and then the Western, the branch, when we begin to start to think about selling, we already have 2 appraisals.
Okay, good.
So we already know what price we would look for. Then, Alan, you asked me about the TUT, solar project. And, our TUT payoff timeframe would be between, really probably about 15 years. The high would be 16 years. And that is actually in alignment with what it is in a solar project. It's about 9 to 15 years is usually the payoff for those, because we obviously have a gray longer than we do sun. So if you were in Arizona or you were in Florida somewhere, there's a lot more sun, your payoff would happen, much quicker than it would, than it is here.
I think the important, that was me that asked the
Yes.
question, but thank you. The longevity of the project, of the equipment, so on, I mean, up till that point, you're paying for it,
Right,
more or less.
right,
And
we've already, yeah.
after that, it's a free ride until you have to replace it. Do you know what the typical service life is on?
I don't know the
15 to 20 years.
And you'll be paid off in 9, you said? Okay, so you get a, okay.
Yeah.
That's a
And then you
question.
have the ecological value of solar
Yeah.
as well.
But it sounds like a good deal.
But plus the cost of utilities goes down, right?
That's how you calculate the payoff.
Yeah, so we're at 3,900, well, we've only been for 1 year, so about 3,900, I think, is what we've saved. So far within the first year in total.
Okay, so then after the payoff, that's just extra.
It's free.
Free utilities,
Yeah.
yeah.
utilities, Yeah.
It's the payback.
And then just a little bit Trust Indiana information, Trust Indiana, the rates did drop, and that's because the Fed dropped, the rates by, 25 points. So our yield is 4.77%. However, local CD rates right now are 4.39%. So we're still ahead of the game, and still, keeping our, a majority of our dollars in Trust Indiana, working to move our, county deposits to Trust Indiana, so I'm still working through that process, just to get, a little bit more gain on the deposit from a day-to-day perspective. So, there are any questions on anything else?
No questions, I will entertain a motion to accept the patron engagement report and the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
So move to second that we accept the patron engagement report by Stephanie, the financial report by Anjanette. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Any opposed? We're good to go.
I want to thank Ojane for remembering my question. I'm impressed. That was kind of a quiz. I was waiting to see if he'd come back. Good, thank you.
Do you have any unfinished business? If not, I'll move on to new business. Anjanette and Kara, this is where I get to spend some money.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Karen talk today.
yeah, I was going to,
Oh, that's good.
in the interest of everybody it being a short week, just open it for questions. Assuming that everybody had run through the proposal. The biggest highlights are an overall increase for all staff at 4.5%. With a 2% increase, the ranges. And then the additional range added. And then continuing on with the bonuses as.
My only question is, in terms of pay grade structure changes, are we closer to the structural changes? Since we're still working on it.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and I'll report on those in my next, at next
Yes.
month's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So, anybody have any questions for Karen?
How often do you check can't think of the term, the surrounding area, the pay?
We look often, yes, as Anjanette says, so, in the past few years, we've really worked to make sure that we're providing a living wage. There's been ups and downs, it's a weird year, we wanted to look at the living wage and let it ride for a little bit of time. And then go from there, but as it is right now, the living wage is in the 19 range, which is in our pay grade for our, lowest paid full-time staff. The vast majority of them are right in that area. Or at least close.
So this was part of the plan that we talked about last year where we do raises and then raise the entire levels up by a portion of that, so that when we do another formal compensation study at those 5-year intervals, we won't be so far behind like we were last time.
Right.
And we do look at the ranges, so I really started like in February, looking at the COLA, looking at the wage, looking at all of the numbers, and probably at least once a month, if not twice a month, just looking at though that information in different articles and what's going on within the economy, so just, and then just trying to talk about it in June, talk about it right before we do this meeting.
I think our first meeting on the topic wasn't about June. February,
Yeah,
yeah.
I looked at it.
This is designed to avoid salary compression,
Yes,
Right,
which is huge.
right,
Okay.
right,
Been there, done that.
yeah.
Okay.
When we're doing our comparison, are we looking at just base salary dollars or salary and compensation?
At this point, for this
Okay.
proposal, we are looking at just wages.
Okay.
Just wages.
And you don't have the Teamsters to deal with.
Not yet,
Not yet.
not yet, you know. So if I'm looking at the ranges, salary ranges.
Yes,
The three multiple charts, so we're looking at the far right hand.
yep,
So we've got, I guess the minimum for grades 2, 3, and 4 is still less than 15 an hour. And then midpoint for 2 is, still under 15 an hour. But, and that's the only thing, everything else will at least you know, without 15.
Right.
But but you're saying that we don't really, do we have anybody that is full-time that is not making at least 15 an hour?
oh, no,
no, we don't have any.
So we-
no, so the way that our pay ranges work is that. Midpoint represents someone who meets every single qualification for a job. And at our level 4 jobs, which are custodians, level 2 is shelters. Level 4 is essentially, you don't even have to have a high school diploma. It's incredibly rare that we get anybody who doesn't meet all of the qualifications. And even so, we would usually hire somewhere in the second quartile. For someone, for example, who wasn't able to read English. We hired him in the Q2 and made sure that he could read all of the safety stuff on the chemicals. That's the word I was looking for, on the chemicals. So, and then once he was proficient in the job, we moved him up to midpoint. So it's incredibly rare that somebody's not at midpoint in those pay rates.
So are we really starting at level 4 for anybody? That's where we would start and work our way down.
Well, the 2s are shelters.
Twos
So
are
those are
dollars,
part-time.
yeah, so as far as full-time,
And-
full-time is level 4.
Okay, that's
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah,
Full-time level 4.
The full-time is level. I mean, I don't know why, but obviously you all doing this, not us, but just as an observation, I don't know why. For 15 cents, you all wouldn't have figured out a way to have just gotten that. Just psychologically, something about. All your full-time staff is at least at 15 an hour.
Well, at that 4. Because the minimum would be way under qualified for the job. I don't know what that looks like at a level 4.
But I'm just saying, she said that
Really?
we don't have anybody full-time that's not at least at a level 4.
just make it a dash.
And I was just saying, I don't know why we wouldn't just make it level 4 if that's just
Yeah.
made it.
Because Matt, I just do a formula for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I get what you're saying from a publicity standpoint. It's like, look at that, we don't hire anybody full-time under the $15 for sure. Correct, we wouldn't. So,
In practically speaking, we don't.
you're
It's IRL, as the kids would say.
I hear what you're saying, I'm just saying. So,
I get what you're saying, though.
yeah, I think you could just plug it in there and it wouldn't hurt anything. That's up to you all.
I could do that.
We have enough room for an extra 50.
You mean I could make a motion that we adjust that one to $15 an hour?
Stay in your lane.
I do that, I would want to raise the other 2 grades by the same percentage below, so that it's equitable.
So I'll have to give you like $25 to help cover that cost for the year.
We're fine.
Or you could just accept it as is.
Yeah, well, that's what she would do. But you know,
They're the administration. we're the board.
I like your suggestion.
I'm just a little, that's all.
So.
I move to approve
I was
this.
gonna-
I was going, I would say.
I have a motion on the floor.
$15 an hour.
It's been approved and second,
Can't figure it out.
Terry, no, I'm sorry, Alan. It's been moved in second that we approve this as is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I see what that discussion. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Good,
Thank you.
okay,
Our staff thinks you too.
yes. Resolution on change orders.
So this is essentially a copy paste of the change order resolution that was passed by the board prior to the project here at Maine. And this just authorizes me to approve change orders in between board meetings because the board does need to, by law, to approve change orders up to 20% change. I don't expect at Center with the scope of that renovation that we're gonna even come close. I can't even imagine. But this is for our next chapter bid project. So this would apply currently to Western and LaSalle as well. And it just makes that process work more smoothly, because if we have to have a board meeting every time we need to do a change order, it can slow down the project a lot.
Questions? Comments? You have a motion.
I move that we authorize the executive director to approve change orders in accordance with the requirements of the public bidding statute as set forth in the resolution in our board packet.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, been moved in second. We do, okay. Oh, you got it? I have a motion on the floor and a second to approve the resolution to give executive director the approval to do change orders up to 20%. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. So ordered. Jeanette, you open the bank account?
Yes, I've opened 3 bank accounts. So this, resolution, I've kind of talked about it here and there, regarding Trust Indiana, and then also with the, IRS examination with the bonds. We really need to, for accounting purposes, and then also just because whether it's, depending on the type of bond it is and the type of project it is, if we are having those examinations, having the accounts separate and not in the general fund and paid out of the general fund just makes our lives a little bit easier when it comes to, a potential audit and things like that. So, what we're, proposing is that we open, and we've already opened them, so this is kind of, because we needed to do it because we sold the bonds and the money's getting ready to go into the account. And I didn't want it to go into the general account tonight. So, so we're gonna have an account for, the bond for LaSalle. All of the expenditures will be paid out of that account. When we do Western, that bond money will go into that account. All of the expenditures will come out of that account. And we are also splitting out, basically non-public funds. So anything that's not really coming from the county, when we get gift funds, things like that, that will go into a separate account. It just makes, our lives a little bit easier during audit time. And then if we get another IRS examination, it will just be pulling down that account's expenditures and just saying, this is it. And this is all of the little bit of interest we got. And this is where we paid it from, and it'll just make our process much easier. So we're asking the board to approve that.
Are these going into, Trust Indiana?
They are, so the bonds will not.
Okay,
I just,
where they go?
because of the whole interest and arbitrage and all that stuff, we're just letting it sit in,
First source, okay,
First Source.
first source.
And not deal with Trust Indiana. The gift funds are already in Trust Indiana, so we'll
This is just-
continue to
okay.
do that, but the bonds we won't.
These go to,
That is an additional first
That's a
source
legal arbitrage.
account for gift funds too, because we need that
You
checking
can have a legal
account.
arbitrage as long as you.
I know, but
You don't
it's
have.
easier to just see it in one account and not.
Yeah. I understand.
yes, Alan.
So I noticed in the resolution, it says the 2024 GO bonds and the 2025 GO bonds. Remind me, I know we got the bond issue, we're getting ready to close. I think it's December 12th, I think was the date that. Do we have another bond issue? Or one of our bond issues not closing until 2025?
Correct, we'll sell the second set of bonds,
But that's already been
Western
approved
bonds in
by
the
the,
spring.
but they've both been approved by the county?
Correct.
They've both been approved, but we're gonna wait to sell one until, do we know when in 2025? It's gonna be like,
We're
first-
finalizing that now,
but it'll be like first quarter or something?
probably first quarter. But there's no limit, we can take as much time as we want, so we can make that decision a little bit based on design process, on market, and a number of different factors, so we're not set finally on when that will be, but it will be in we must do it in 2025.
Okay, all right.
Any questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution to open bank accounts.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second,
So moved and properly second that we approve the resolution, open bank accounts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
And fund lines, by the way, is this the same thing?
Now they have associated fund lines in the accounting software to go with the bank account.
So this isn't anything any different. This is already, there's statutes already about the construction funds and having construction funds for projects. And so we just need two construction funds, one for LaSalle and one for Western. And we'll account for those and those being on your fund reports,
Mhm.
after we have, approved that.
Questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Can all speak at once?
so moved.
So moved. Have a second?
Second,
It's moved and second that we approve the resolution to establish fund lines for construction projects. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we can spend some money. And Karen, vehicle purchase.
Yes, let's spend some more money.
That's what's going to be, that's why I don't understand.
But not casual.
Oh,
No, yeah, this is a very legitimate purchase.
Right fixed to Hawaii.
Yeah, no.
In September this year, a facilities department staff member was assigned to the full-time groundskeeper. Full-time groundskeeper backs up what our vendor groundskeeper does on a daily basis. So if you haven't noticed how beautiful, I've been noticing how beautiful the branches have looked recently. This has made a huge difference in our maintenance outside with trash pickup, with branches being cut back, with items being painted, weeding, yes.
Detail work.
The detail work. The other vendors kind of cut the grass and do a little bit. This is making our locations look like they're very well maintained. Anyways, this staff member goes out to the branches every day, sometimes 3 or 4 different branches. Because there's been a high demand for our work vehicles, because we now have more technicians. He's been using his own vehicle to go out to the branches. His mileage requests over 1 month was like $641. So we took a look and said, he has to put all the equipment in and take all the equipment out at the end of every day. It's kind of a time matter and a monetary matter. We started looking at the 2015 Ford Transit. It's got over 112,000 miles on it. That's our old delivery vehicle. We started thinking that maybe we should assign that vehicle to groundskeeping because it's a little beat up. You know, it's nothing that we're going to be concerned if it gets dirt or whatever. And get the maintenance staff, who are the ones that go and do the repairs of the branches every day. A vehicle that can hold tools and equipment and ladders, so that at the end of every day, they don't have to unload this vehicle. When they put this in the truck, due to theft and weather, they have to empty all the tools out. So having a vehicle that is available for them to be able to have electricity in it, so they can actually charge their batteries, work their saw. It is a very, very desirable vehicle to have. We requested quotes from a similar sized vehicle with a walk-in roof, so that it's staff can actually stand inside the vehicle. An extended cargo bed and all-wheel drive for year-round use from Gates Chevy, Castle Ford, Michiana, Chrysler Dodge, and Gurley Mercedes.
Mercedes.
A wide variety of quotes. Only 2 of these vehicles from these dealerships come in all-wheel drive. It was the Ford Transit or the Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes-Benz was $25,000 difference. So we decided that we're looking at the Ford Transit, so, I recommend that we purchase this new vehicle, for the maintenance technician use and keep the 2015 van for the landscaping purposes.
And the parts come from Germany. And the Mercedes, and they're not cheap.
Yeah, and they only come in diesel too, which was a little,
Yeah.
as well, like, oh, that's
Yeah, yeah.
very expensive.
Gasoline.
Gas.
Hey, questions? Anybody have a question? Anybody want to do maintenance?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Sure.
It's related, but not specifically this. We purchased a vehicle years or so ago, electric vehicle, for running around. It's similar to the question about solar. I presume there's a good payback on that. But I'm also assuming you can't get an electric version of what you're talking about here.
Yeah,
Right.
it's becoming more and more difficult to get EVs, and the other issue that we had is we would not have a place to charge that, because we've got the charger for the delivery van that we have that goes out every day, and there would be no way with our current situation, we don't, in the future, there'll be more choices. Right now, we would not have a place to charge it. And I can get you what we were paying in gas per year and how much, we're spending for the electric.
It isn't so much for me, but we'll at some point be making more decisions about vehicles over time. And it would be good to know if the experience tells us to continue to do that.
Well, I will say, not from a monetary perspective, but I did read the delivery driver's self-evaluation today, in which he stated how much he likes that van and how great it works. And he even said specifically about its, the fact that it's electric. He said, I don't get to tout the greatness of this very often, and this is a great way to do it. And he talked about how great it was to drive it and how efficient it is, so there's that, so I have that answer for you.
Okay.
Alright, sounds like some more math.
How soon would you purchase this, like tomorrow, this week?
Yeah, it's by month end.
They change their quote if you don't do it by the end of the month. If you don't do it by the end of the month.
And the 2024s, we're catching the end of the 2024, and there was a lot of rebates on this. This vehicle cost exactly the same this year, like it's $500 less than the E-Van cost 2 years ago, which shows you the difference in price between an E-Van and a gas van. So, yeah, the E's have really gone up in price, which is a little.
Any more questions? Any questions, I should say, not any more. Terry?
No, I would move to.
Good. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. So I have a motion to approve the purchase of a new Ford Transit work van for the price of $58,897. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No shop.
All right.
Eyes have it.
Facility people will be very important.
Good. So you gotta buy tomorrow.
Yeah, I can call the dealership after I got this meeting.
Yeah.
See, they actually drive down here from Michigan City. They said, yeah, hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I've been driving an electric vehicle for 4 years now. For town, we don't take trips, but on it, but the experience has been terrific. Gasoline equivalent mileage in dollars is about 113 miles a gallon. So you
Wow.
just don't spend anything.
Make sure to
That's,
change my
that's the
Jeep.
same with our car, our electric car.
You say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's common, but there seems to be some detractors.
Any other business do we have to transact?
They're gonna get rid of the tax.
I just have noticed that the 2025 meeting dates, we did look at some holidays and made sure we sort of
Okay.
wiggled around those.
You have a copy of that, folks?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for doing September. That worked out
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Page 30.
Liberty News,
Excuse me, we,
Yeah, sorry.
at one time were occasionally having a meeting at one of the branches just because we never get there.
Oh.
Have you considered that?
Sure, we could do that again.
we did so last
We
year. last year
we did a
did
couple, yeah.
I remember going.
Yeah, we could do a couple.
A few would be good,
Yeah.
couple, yeah.
This area, I know the Tribune will want our list of dates and times and places, so let's figure that out.
We've been that for a while. Then it was like-
Yeah.
Your news education items? Review visitors. In that case.
That's wrong. It's 5 o'clock.
Record, right?
All right, our next meeting will be just before Christmas on December 23rd. What is Hanukkah this year?
Around the
Or
same
on the same
time.
time, okay. In this room at 4:15. If no other business, I have a motion to adjourn.
I would
You have one.
say we should get the clock.
It's been moved to be fixed the clock.
Nothing worse than a clock that's wrong.
We're moving to ordering
Oh,
only
Friday,
atomic
4:58.
clocks,
I see.
which should all be accurate.
Can replace that with the atomic clock.
We should, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a motion for adjournment.
Do that?
So we can
I said move second and third. We adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, folks. Happy Thanksgiving.